Soji has a stuffed monster named Squoogie. Hugh walks around like he owns the place, and we are brought back to Voyager Season 1, Episode 10. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, everybody.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we are doing a review of Picard Season 1, Episode 6, called The Impossible Box. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. Just getting over a little sickness, so bear with me, everybody, but I'm going to make it through.
And I am not getting through a sickness, so I think we'll be just fine. At least half of us will be. So we had a pretty fun episode today. The early reviews from people on the internet, everybody online was clamoring. A lot of people were saying it was their favorite episode so far. What do you think? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say it is my favorite episode so far.
Really?
Yeah, I think the storylines are developing and picking up. I mean, it's really close because the last one was also right up there. I like the last episode as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say these last two episodes were starting to kick off the adventures of Picard. And I like the way things were starting to unravel. They brought in 7 of 9 last episode and brought in a nice twist into the storyline. That Vegas kind of atmosphere. And now we're here on the reclaimed artifact.
Right.
And I feel like there was a lot of good storyline here. There were a bunch of kind of loose ends that they tied up with the history of Picard and the Borg. They expanded upon his, feeling now about the Borg and, the fear he had actually by going on the cube.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I liked episode 5 better than this one, a little bit better. But most people, it seems like most of the people that were posting were saying that this was their favorite one so far. There's a lot of good stuff. One of the things I wanted to say, but I guess I didn't put in the top 3, was that I felt like we got a good new nickname for Agnes. I think it was her college nickname. I wanted to call her Aggressive Aggie. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, I remember that scene with her and Rios.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a nice little scene. And there was a moment where she took Rios's hand and started walking him forward.
Right.
And I think every guy can kind of remember a moment like that when you're getting led by the hand and you know what's about to happen next. So.
Yeah, I mean and she was such a she was a woman on a mission. She had like a one-track mind. I mean, it's funny, like the second she walked in, you knew what the scene was going to be about, because the dude's all like shirtless and sweaty. And by the way, I know we're kind of going backwards here, but that's kind of a weird workout, isn't it? Just like a dude just kicking a ball around, like.
Well, shout out to his soccer skills. He did the one trick where you kick the ball up and you wrap your foot around and kick it back again. A very difficult trick that I think we saw Freddie do back in the day a long time ago.
Right.
And a lot of other, premier level soccer players do. So I thought that was pretty interesting. It just shows that he obviously really does play soccer and have the kind of skills. That's not something you can fake.
Right. I was trying to look for a stunt double just in case, but that was him. Or at least I was fooled. But Star Trek likes to do that. They ask them, what kind of hidden talents do you have? Like Jonathan Frakes is like, I can play the trombone. So they're like, put it in there, or 7 of 9, Jerry Ryan and Robert Picardo are like, we can sing. All right, stick it in there somehow, And so, Santiago Cabrera obviously can play soccer. By the way, I guess this is the right time to do another correction. We have a couple corrections.
So,
Yeah, as usual. One is that somebody was saying, somebody from Chile was saying that Santiago Cabrera is actually a Chilean actor, which is true. And that when he was saying those bad words as the pilot, he was actually speaking Chilean. And he even described what the words were, and that sounded very accurate. So that's a second correction on that. We're going to go with that he's Chilean. So that's why when you mentioned the soccer skills, okay, that's the Chileans are they do like their soccer. Let's put it that way. Another correction is the Voyager militia really came out in droves on our last week when I said that Naomi Wildman was one of the Borg children. She was not one of the Borg children. That was Mazzotti, another little girl, along with these two twin boys and a baby that we never see again. Naomi Wildman was the first baby born on Voyager. And let me tell you, half of our comments were telling us how wrong, how dare I call Naomi or Mazzotti. We hear you, and thank you for the correction. Lastly, Aaron Harvey, who's a great graphic designer, cool guy, tells us that, remember how in the image, I guess I could bring it up, in the image behind me from Stardust City, it said Quark Bar, not Quarks, right?
Right.
And I made a comment saying, like, why did they omit the S? And he pointed out that if you look closely on that K, there's a tiny apostrophe and a tiny S. So,
wow.
So it's like Quark is big and the little apostrophe S is tiny. So it's all good there. All bases covered.
That's great. And actually, it actually said and ROMs underneath, but Quarks and ROMs. But even ROMs was even smaller in font.
Let me see.
I think he had a 0.0001% partnership. That's funny. That's great to know. And Chilean, I got to get up on my Chilean recognition skills.
Let's see if we can see it here. Yeah, so you see there's that tiny little white dot. That's the apostrophe, and that tiny little white dot is the S.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
So there
we were right on Mr. Motts, though, right?
Oh yeah, no, for sure, Mr. Motts.
And what does that say? What does that say to your right? That looks like a record store. Is that legible? Because I wanted to read that the first time. It's just something like looks like T.R. Taylor. Is that Taylor?
Well, let's
Dabo Taylor.
Let's
Tavern.
Maybe Tavern.
Tavern. Dabo Tavern. Something like that. Yeah.
I could check. I can try to zoom in here.
That's my guess. Something like. Can't make out the first one, but I think the second word is tavern.
It's Dabo Tables. That's what it says.
Oh, Dabo Tables. Quark's got a business across the street too. He's competing with himself.
Maybe he's got both. So that is so funny. I can't believe I never noticed that. Good eye. Yeah, Dabo Tables.
Dabo Tables.
That's a third thing right there. Yeah.
All right, we're moving along. If we could just make out that actress, that's the giant-sized actress
right there.
Yeah, then we could have a trifecta. But that's pretty good. Dabo Tables. We made that out.
So back to the lesson at hand.
Back to the Impossible Box.
The Impossible Burger. I was looking for, usually when they have a title like that, it has a meaning twice. Sometimes three times. The first one was the box that, obviously is impossible for Rizzo to open, and Nerold or Narek or whatever his new name is.
Nerold.
By the way, his new name is Rayan.
Rayan.
I swear he pronounced Rayan the same way my French my French family members pronounce my name Ryan. So it's like, this guy just So now
Rehan.
I'm sharing a name with Nerold now. He just sounds like my French relatives. But yeah, I couldn't figure out what the other box was, because it's usually an analogy, you know, or metaphor for two things. Maybe the impossible box is the Borg cube. I don't know. Maybe Soji herself is the impossible box. Like she was the difficult thing to figure out the puzzle, just like, you know, but Narek was able to figure out the puzzle in the box and in Soji. So I think maybe that's the double metaphor, you know, that she and the box were the impossible thing to unlock.
Yeah, that could be it. I mean, that could be also the meditative room where they were doing the unlocking of our memories, right?
Right.
Like a hypnotization kind of ceremony.
And yeah, no, definitely. And you know, another thing to nitpick about, and I'm sorry, but there are a few things that kind of, you know, made my nerd hairs stand up a little bit. You know, like, so there's this alien race called Romulans, and they have this way of hypnotizing each other, right? Or almost like a past life regression for dreams. And it works for them. Number one, we don't know if their brain physiology is the same as humans, right? So how do we know that just because it works for them, that psychology or brain physiology works on other aliens? And number two, even more so, who's to say it's going to work on an android? Like
yeah, that's interesting.
You can hypnotize a person supposedly, but can you hypnotize your dust buster, or what are those things, those Roombas that go around your floor and vacuum your house?
Yeah, I think they kind of alluded to that a little bit when they said, what is his name again?
Narek?
What? Nerold?
Nerold?
When Nerold was saying that there's a half human, half synthetic part of her, so he was actually saying he can access her through the human side of her. Right. And I thought that they gave a little bit of plausibility to why he was able to kind of get into her psyche, that human side of her. And just going back to what we were talking about, the impossible box, to add another suggestion on what it could possibly be,
sure,
was inner chamber of the Borg cube, which was the Queen's lair that they actually teleported from. And I think towards the end there, when Picard walked into the room, he said, "This is the Queen's lair."
Yeah, yeah.
And they made a little reference there to, like, yeah, you've never been here either, but we both know about it because of collective hive mind mentality, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's also another thing where basically, yeah, they're saying, look, you don't have to have been there or have had experienced it to have the knowledge of it. And a cute little, you know, reference to that was when they're like running away, and just some random Borg dude comes out of the closet and goes, "Locutus, hey!" Like,
yeah,
hey, look, it's Locutus. You know, and they probably never met, but you know, he just recognized him, so that was really cool.
Yeah, it's interesting because I guess it brings me to a place where when they extract the Borg out of you and they remove it, they don't remove the memory of the experience. Is that what we're looking at? So,
right.
You are now outside of the hive. You're back to being an individual, but you still remember everything that you went through, right? They don't go through the erasing your memory part.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I thought that was interesting that Picard is having to battle with these inner demons inside of him, that he's facing his fear by going to the very place that scarred him the most in his life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's walking in there, and this actor who played his friend when he greets him, can you tell us a little bit about him?
Yeah, Jonathan Del Arco. He plays Hugh. I believe he was in, 3 episodes in Next Generation. I mean, really like 2 and a tiny morsel of a third. First one, I don't even remember what it was called. Like, I think it might have been just called Hugh. I don't remember. Our Star Trek fans can tell us in the comments below. But what he was a rescue Borg drone. They rescued him, and they had this dilemma: if we kill this Borg, like if we send like a virus in his brain, like a computer virus, it could shut down the entire collective, right? So they're like, maybe we should do that. But then that Borg drone started to show signs of like a personality and befriend Geordi, played by LeVar Burton. And so it became like this moral dilemma. And then Geordi actually gave him a name, and then, which was Hugh. And then Hugh actually, really started to befriend Geordi. And, then Picard makes the choice that he can't kill him, and he can like release him, or whatever they did. They released him off to the Borg Wild or whatever it was. And so then, of course, he's reprimanded by his superiors, saying, look, if you have the option to rid the Federation of a mortal threat next time, you do it. I don't care if you're worried about hurting one person, I think that was
you see the Federation reprimands Picard?
Right. The
for
Admiral.
letting him go?
I think it was probably Admiral Nechayev. They love to have her reprimand him. But yeah, because Borg could destroy all the Federation, and instead Picard stuck with his conscience, which was don't kill this one guy, even if it means saving the whole Federation. We all know Sisko kind of looks at things a little differently than that. Sisko's like, burn the fucker.
As long as I didn't see it, it didn't matter that much.
Yeah. So anyway, and then he comes back later as Data's in like there's like this story with Data's brother Lore and some rogue leftover Borgs, and these Borgs have been kind of like sent awry because Hugh had his individualism and it kind of spread in a weird way. But anyway, so that's the character, and now he's
part of the reclamation team that's helping take other people, remove them from the Borg collective, right?
Right, exactly.
Interesting. What I thought was interesting also in this episode, and I don't know if they had played on this before, but was when Picard was walking through the hallways, the walls started to kind of move. Those little cubes, pieces in the walls. It felt like they were alive almost, like the walls. So,
I didn't even notice that. Good eye.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting.
Was it like computer kind of digital buttons going around, or was it like the actual walls kind of shifting and moving around?
Well, it could have been part of just Picard's psyche when he was feeling the nerves of getting on the ship and walking down the hallways. But it seemed as if the wall itself was like these various squares and rectangles moving in and out. Perhaps that was my own imagination, but that's what I saw. Okay. Who directed this episode? I don't give a shout out.
I'll have to check because I didn't get the name. It was a name I didn't recognize. Let me check right now.
It's not a John Briggs production.
Checking. Here we go. It was oh no, that's not it at all.
I like the line where Soji says, "You think everyone is hiding a secret?" And Meryl's like, "Everyone is hiding a secret."
There are a lot of really good lines in there, and I can't wait to get into them. But I am just obsessed with finding out who this director is now.
Yeah.
Of The Impossible Box, 8.2 rating, very good. It was directed by Maja Vervillo. Really interesting name, Maja Vervillo.
I can't even say who that is. I wouldn't know. I have no reference.
Also directed Hawaii Five-0, bunch of episodes, 30 in fact. Cold Case, 50 episodes of that. Some Law and Order, The Agency, lots of TV. Oh wait, no, that's editor. Oh, no wonder the editing was so good. Also edited one of the Short Treks episode, Runaway, some Hawaii Five-0, of course, a Discovery episode, MacGyver, Magnum PI, Prison Break, Titans, SWAT, lots of stuff. So actually, we're going to need to go to a break in just a minute or two here. But before we do, one other thing about what the internet was saying late last night was our friend Andre Kottman. You know Andre Kottman, right? We went and saw some Discovery episodes at his place. He pointed out correctly that the alien that was mentioned at the very end, the Sicarians. Now the Sicarians, remember at the very end when they were going into that room to transport away, it was that spatial trajector. They said, "Oh, that's when the Borg."
They got this advanced technology from the
Sicarians. Yeah, they assimilated the Sicarians. Yeah. The Sicarians were actually introduced in season 1, episode 10 of Voyager. And they had that technology, and Voyager was like, cool, can we use it? And didn't really work out. And then when they tried to take it, the technology wasn't compatible with other technology, so it didn't work. But apparently the Borg were able to figure it out because they're computer nerds.
Okay, so this is another little nugget where they pick up from an existing episode and expand on it.
Every episode has tons of this stuff now. It's great. But we're going to go to a break very quickly, and we're going to come right back with the 7th Rule. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the 7th Rule with Cirroc Lofton. My name is Ryan T. Husk. We are reviewing The Impossible Box. That is episode 6 of Picard's first season. Pretty cool, pretty awesome. Let's go through the whole episode now. We're kind of all over the place. We had a few good laughs on the break just now. We had a few good laughs. So the episode starts off with Soji's dream. She wakes up.
Open like a horror story, actually. I thought I was watching it wrong. I was like, this is not the right show. Actually, there was a second there when I was watching the beginning of this where I thought it was a trailer for another movie, and I was trying to skip ahead. So I actually looked on the screen to see if I had to skip ahead. I thought this wasn't the right movie. Maybe I pressed the wrong thing.
Really?
Yeah, because this is a horror movie. This is like this isn't the right thing, is it? And sure enough, it was, and I gave it a chance. I can agree with the fans about this being one of the better episodes, and I think it's only going to get better from here because we have liftoff as a franchise.
Yeah, I mean, we're already 6 out of 10 episodes in, so we're more than halfway. So this story has already been more than halfway told. I mean, now that things are getting already mixed up, like characters are meeting, and it's no longer a separation between what's going on in the cube and what's going on the ship. They're already kind of intermingling and switching around. So.
And I don't want to keep jumping all over the place, but there was one thing I really, really want to say that I liked. Yeah. It was the shot where Picard is looking at, he's just computer, bring up, search the artifact, the treaty, and the board, and he's looking through the files.
That was the best shot.
And the best shot is when he sees himself as the Borg, and he's looking at himself through, and the way they overlap the two is it's just great to me. I thought it was really nice.
Yeah.
It kind of was blurry at for a second, and then boom, it clicks into an overlap, and you can see it. He starts to grab his own face because he feels it there. It's so like good. It was just a great moment, great shot. They implemented the translucent computer screen over his face, and the reflection of his face, which I just thought was really well done. Shout out to the director and those people that were involved with coming up with that particular insert.
No, I agree. That was the best shot of the night. It was really cool. It was really well executed. And it was just, it had obviously a lot of meaning there, for the character Picard and for us when we're seeing it, especially because it wasn't just the first time that we've seen these screens and the angle of looking at them through the screen. So we'd seen that before, but this was the first time that it like was so poignant. It had a reason for it, other than just like looking cool. And,
yeah, it had a reason, and there was also the contrast between the old Picard and the younger version of himself, the Borg version of him and the non-Borg. There was just so much contrast there, and I just thought it told the story just within a shot. It didn't need much dialogue. Just that was enough. They also do a little thing where they hint the theme song for Next Generation every once in a while when they cut and they end the acts. And I love that little bit of a theme song music being played from Next Generation. Once I hear that, it's 2 notes. It doesn't take much, but it gets me hyped up when I hear it. I just like the way they subtly planted it there.
Right. They put in Voyager at a point like 1 or 2 episodes ago, the Voyager theme song for a second there. This one, we definitely heard the Next Generation one. Really well done. And I wonder, I was looking at Maja a little bit. I don't know, it might be pronounced Maha because it says she speaks Spanish. So maybe it's pronounced Maha.
Okay.
But she's clearly a well-known editor. I mean, her list of editing credits was extensive. And that's why we noticed how great the editing was in this episode, is because it was being directed by a lady that's made at least half her bread on editing. And that's why there was kind of like during the dream sequences and all these other dramatic points, there was kind of like the flashes of the back and forth, That's really good editing, especially when accompanied with the sound editing and all that. So shout out to her. It makes me want to learn more about her,
She held her own on this one and really laid down a great episode that the fans responded to. It's a culmination of everybody's work, but the director takes the lead on a lot of that. Also want to say that Michelle Hurd gives a fantastic performance in this one when, she charms Starfleet into letting them get the medical visitor's pass. And also when she's in bed and she has that really heart-to-heart scene with Rios. I like the emotion she showed in there, and she's just a hell of a good actor, actually, I have to say.
Yeah, I was sold on her after the 4th episode. It took me a couple episodes to make up my mind, but she's really shining. Within every scene, with every moment, she it's like she's able to carry her emotions like right in front of her. So her emotions precede everything she says and does in every scene. Really good actress. She's what it seems like is that she seems really genuine,
She seems genuine, and she reminds me a lot of Kira, where she doesn't take any BS from anybody, and she's tough. And I like that about her. She's tough, and she doesn't take any BS, but she also has good intentions. You can tell that by her relationship with JL.
Don't you ever call him that again.
which I think is one of the worst nicknames.
Everybody does.
Yo, JL. It doesn't flow off the tongue for some reason. But no, I also like the set design. They really gave me a back view of the bedroom set.
Mm-hmm.
Where Soji was making love with Nerold.
Yeah.
And that set is awesome. I like the ceiling. I like the way the walls and the ceiling kind of arch down into each other with the lights. Really fantastic set design. The guys make it really believable. The Borg cube just feels ominous as they walk down the hallways. It feels endless. I don't feel like I've seen this same part of the set twice. already.
Right.
It feels like I keep getting new set. So I want to give a really good shout out to these people doing the set design, including Rafi's quarters, her little bunk area where she sleeps. It just all seems very seamless and has a good feel on the eye. So I enjoyed it.
I agree. High quality. I'm sure they have meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting about the production design and how to make it perfect and what exactly they're going for and what specific colors will be a theme of every area. I mean, it's just, it's masterful. I mean, that, we can nitpick quite a few things. I haven't really found anything to nitpick so far about the production design or the locations have been great. Everything's been
or the visual effects, right?
Visual effects are awesome.
Yeah. Costume is doing great. Makeup is doing well.
How about this? Let's break up this love fest, and I'm gonna rather than it won't be nitpicking, but it is one funny thing that somebody mentioned online last night. I thought this was the quote of the night. David Negrete says when with regards to the scene where Narek is nibbling on her ear in bed or whatever, he says, "Scandalous. She's only 37 months old." Okay.
Yeah, 37 months old.
Yeah.
So it's that there nitpicking wise, there were a few issues that I guess he needed her to walk around that little maze thing, and then he wanted to kill her, and it was like,
well, because they need to find out where her home world is.
Right.
That's the whole point, because obviously, I'm guessing they want to destroy the synth homeworld and destroy the synths, and it's hidden, and that information was trapped inside of her, maybe like a little homing beacon, and they were able to extract that information from her, and now they've got it, and so now they can go destroy that synth homeworld, and so that'll probably be Picard's mission, is to stop that from happening, because synths are people too.
Right. They are. They're half people, at least. But yeah, I did think that there was a little bit of a little ritualistic type of thing with that whole scene where she's walking on the thing. It reminded me of a lot of movies that I've seen that kind of show these kinds of rituals. One was Golden Child with Eddie Murphy. I'll look that up.
So,
yeah.
Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, there's another thing that I thought does not quite work for me. Baby Elrond, right? AKA Elnor. So he works for me. He's great. He's nice. He's cool. Good character. We get it. We understand what's going on here. But I understand the comic value for him. He's going to be the fish out of water character. He's the character that, has that innocence to him, that innocent ignorance to him, where he doesn't get the joke. Like Data doesn't get the joke. When they say something, or Spock says, like, "What's so funny about that? I don't get it." He's going to be that guy. And so every time, and it's comedy gold that every time he just says what he thinks, it's going to be funny, because we don't usually say that.
Yeah, I'm not on that really yet. He hasn't sold me on his character as big, even the funny guy who's awkwardly funny because he says the blunt truth. I still haven't laughed at any of his punchlines yet, except I just haven't. I mean, but except for the last line he says, which is off camera, but he says, "Please, my friends, choose to live."
Right.
And that was the only line that I actually, thought was pretty good. Him calling out the awkward tension in the room and all that. It just he still looks like one of the elves from the elf world.
He's gonna look like that forever. He's from Rivendell. That's all there is to it.
Exactly.
But that's okay. I love Lord of the Rings. Shout out to my boy J.R.R. Tolkien, if he's listening.
Of course he's listening. He always tunes
in. He's listening 50 years after the grave. But I'll tell you, that line where he says, the whatever the tension was, that worked for me. That's the first one that landed. When he looks at aggressive Aggie, and he says, "The obvious tension between you makes me uneasy." That kind of worked for me. That worked. But I'll tell you what hasn't worked, and a lot of people may not have noticed it because I didn't understand what he said until I put onto closed captioning to say, what the hell did he just say? So, by the way, guys, pro tip, these Romulans are using a ton of words that are not in English. So if you want to know what the hell they're talking about, put on the closed captioning sometimes.
Oh, I thought I was understanding everything perfectly.
No. So what he was saying was, look, he said something and they kind of looked at him like, you don't want to know the answer. And he says, "Looks like that's not my business. I shall outbutt."
Outbutt.
Instead of, I guess, butt out.
Oh.
So that they're using that innocence like, oh, he said the wrong thing. He meant butt out, but he said outbutt.
Yeah, that didn't land.
And then there was another line, same exact thing, except he said, am I in butting? Am I in butting? Like butting in. Ugh.
Yeah, these are tough.
They made the joke twice.
They should have made it. They should have made him a mute. If you want to know the truth, it probably would have sold better if he was a telepath or something, and he just he didn't talk much.
But those are the kind of things where you never know. People are going to start picking it up, and the nerds are going to be in the nerd forums going like, "Hey, don't mind to be in butting, but here we go."
No, I'm not sold on it. But he did deliver another line that I actually wrote down here, and that's when Picard told him, "I told you to stay on the ship," and he just bluntly said, "I didn't listen." Stating the obvious, but
right, very obvious.
But I liked it. I don't know why I liked that one for some reason.
And just kind of like how you knew that when Picard said, "Do not come after me," or what, he says, "Do not follow me onto the ship no matter what." You knew, you're like, okay, he's going to go.
Well, he didn't say okay, which means he knew that he was going to.
Right.
He can't lie, right? Is that what it is? It's like absolute candor. So he can't really be lying. So if he had said yes, then he wouldn't be able to show up. The fact that he didn't agree and say, okay, fine, I won't come after you, means that he had in his mind.
That's a good point.
If I need to, I'm going to be there.
He even shook his head too. He just kind of shook his head and walked away.
Right.
He's like,
right. He didn't give an answer. It was like,
I'll decide.
Yeah, we'll see about that, Captain.
There was also the scene where Nerold is leading Soji through the path and all that stuff, and his sister lover Rizzo is watching from her computer quarters or whatever it was, from her office. And I just kind of noticed, as an actor, we know how hard it is to act by yourself. If you're just looking at a green screen and they're like, okay, now he's saying this, so react, give us a reaction, it's not easy. It's tough. Especially when, there's a lot of characters involved. In this case, there weren't. So it wasn't even harder than it could have been. But I just want to give a little shout out to her, the lady playing Rizzo, because she was doing it well. She's like kind of tilting her head. I mean, it's hard to do a scene without actually working with somebody. You're just doing reactions, and I thought she did that well.
Yeah, she also makes me hate her really well. I really hate her for some reason. Every time I see her like this, B-I-T. And yeah, so she's selling that part. I think that's pretty good. I thought the line was funny when Rafi was talking to Starfleet, and the woman from Starfleet said, the Romulans, they're in a 250-year bad.
She actually had two really good lines. That was the first one. She said the Romulans are in a 250-year bad mood. Solid, well written, well delivered.
Yeah.
And the other one, she says, "I'm saying this as an old friend. Never call me again."
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So
that came right after Rafi says, "I'm still planning on drinking myself to death." which I also thought was like a hilarious line. And then they took a stab at Picard when she says, Picard, if it's not ego, it's his id.
Yeah, right? Raging it or something
like that. Is raging it or something like that, yeah. And he does this. He had several eye rolls.
Another one of all of my favorite lines were in that scene. You're right. The other one that was really good was, she's trying to convince the admiral or the captain, and she's like, "Come on, Picard is so Federation. His face is probably still on the damn brochures."
Yeah,
that's great. That's all writing gold right there. Writing gold, well delivered, well directed. Everything. That was a perfect scene. I thought that was great.
Yeah, and also another scene I want to go back to was the scene with Rafi and Rios. I think she calls him Chris, but it sounded like she called him Chris. But I guess
that's his name, Cristobal Rios.
Okay, so she says to him, I have a son. Did you know that about me? Basically opening up to him and saying, you think you know somebody, but you didn't know this about me, and this is something that I've kept secret.
Right.
I think that was a good kind of a bonding moment. Actually, in that moment, I thought he was going to sleep with her too, and I thought, this guy's going all out.
There was a little possibility there for a second where we're like, hang on, everybody just relax, okay?
Just
poor Elnor,
poor
baby Elrond's going to be like, no mas.
Yeah. Don't tell him where I'm staying.
Not many places to go, baby Elrond.
Yeah. But yeah, because he walked her to the bed and sat next to her, and I was like, gosh, this guy's going 2 for 2. What's wrong with this guy? Have you no morals? Have you no lives?
Now, undoing that a little bit, going backwards just another scene or two, we did talk about aggressive Aggie, but I want to talk about that scene a little bit because it was well written. Even though the second she walked in,
you felt that
we knew what was going to happen, but that's partially in the writing, that the scene that was set up, and partially in the directing, the mood that you just kind of see a dude, he's like sweaty. She walks in with also the acting, just the look in her eye, she just kind of was focused, like just a different look, but it played out really well because she just kind of comes in like a woman possessed. She just basically walks up and just starts making out with the dude. But then there's that fun line where she says, I have a superpower, which is I know when I'm doing a mistake as I'm doing it, or something like that, right?
Yeah, that scene made me think of why she was doing that. And it almost made me feel like she was hooking up with him to erase the memory of what she had just did, killing, what's his name?
Yep, exactly.
The character that they've been looking for this whole time.
Yeah,
right?
Bruce Maddox, exactly.
Maddox, yeah. So I felt like, okay, in order to get the Maddox thing off my mind, I'm going to go sleep with this guy, and kind of change the topic.
That's exactly right. She even admits that, because when she says it's a mistake and she stops, and then Rios is kind of like, shit, how do I get her? By the way, how does she even know that Rios wanted to hump her? Like, she just walks up. What if he goes, whoa, hey, I'm married, dude. I just don't wear my ring because I'm playing soccer and I don't want to lose it, but just relax. Who says it, But let's move on past that. He says, after she kisses and says it's a mistake, she says it's a mistake, and he goes, well, how are you feeling? And she says, that she's not feeling great. But then Rios kind of gives her an out when he says, are you sure this is going to help? And she says, for a few hours at least, or something like that.
Right. Yeah, so it'll get her mind off of it for a few hours and help. He was like, I'll oblige. That's what I'm here for.
Right. So you're right. She's trying to erase that. And, and the other thing that she says, which was, she says, why do you like it in space? It's cold out here. And my first thought was, you're saying how cold it is. dude is just in his shorts. You're in a tank top. It doesn't really look cold.
Yeah,
that's just a line.
Yeah, I think she meant that it's cold and that it's lonely in that kind of a way. And it's one of the things that I actually thought about while watching this episode. I was thinking about my own time on DS9, and then I thought about the scene where they show Nerold coming out of the bed with Soji, and he kind of has his shirt off. He's putting his clothes back on, and I realized he had a farmer's tan, right? Where, you know, so I know this sounds weird, but I was thinking to myself, how do you get a farmer's tan in space?
Right.
It's almost impossible, right? Because we don't get to see the sun, right? And that's one of the things that I thought about, was living on a space station and not being able to see the sun. And that's what I think when you say some place is cold, it's cold out here in space. Or I think that our bodies are used to seeing the sky and the sun. And, you know, you hear about astronauts that go to the International Space Station, and one of the things that they miss is just seeing the sun.
Sure. Like, I mean, well, they still see the sun, but not the way we do.
Not the way we do. Not with the blue sky. Yeah.
It's just, and space is extremely cold, but that's outside of the ship. You know, they've got their things, their environmental controls. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Astronauts, they have all these psychological and physical things that they need to overcome, obstacles that they need to overcome while they're in space. But I guess in the time of Star Trek, they've kind of figured out some of those things with artificial gravity, with environmental controls and inertial dampeners and all that kind of nerdy stuff.
Sure. And I mean, you can always beam yourself up to a planet surface if you want to get the feeling. Exactly. Or you can go into a hollow suite and figure out a program that'll get you wherever you want to go and you can still get that feel. So there's other ways around it. It's just that I can understand the coldness of it. And I can also understand the difficulty of getting a farmer's tan in space.
Yeah. I wonder how they do that.
So what is this place with two red moons?
That's got to be where their homeworld is, because that was kind of like the clue inside of her dream. He says that's what Narek was trying to get the entire time, was where the homeworld is. And so he says, look out of the skylight. She looks out of the skylight. She sees two red moons that she said were blood red, but they were obviously light orange. And she looks up, two red moons. So that way his sister hears that. She immediately says, find me planets that have two red moons and constant electrical storms, even though it could have just been lightning. But so now they're going to try to find the homeworld based on that.
Okay. And I was doing my best to find out where Data fits into the mix as her father. While I was watching this episode, I was thinking, okay, well, isn't Data her father, or Maddox? Like, who is the person that she sees as her father in those dream sequences?
Right. That's a good point. I was wondering if it was going to end up being Bruce Maddox, or if it was going to be just going to be some faceless person that we never find out. I don't know. I don't think we're supposed to know.
I thought it was going to be Data, so I thought Data was the dad, but I guess we're going to have a full Maury Povich episode after this one. Episode 7. Data, you are not the father.
So we've got about 1 minute left. I feel like this episode, we went over it through kind of like a combination pizza. There's just kind of like stuff sprinkled all over the place.
There is. Yeah.
Go
ahead.
I was just going to say there are a few of the trivioids that missed didn't make it through the cutting room. One was Hugh walks around like he owns the place, because they just walked into her apartment or her room. Like, what if she's taking a dump, or what if she's having sex with some, like, what's you just walk
She
in
does have sex a lot, so that's
she
very
does.
possible.
They could have, Soji, we got that. Soji sees past the orchids. I thought that was cool. She can't see past the orchids usually. That was something cool, something poetic there.
And also and with her mom, that was another thing that I picked up on early on, was the conversations with her mom felt very awkward. I think that was from the first episode.
Right.
Right? Because when she was on the run, she called Picard first. She didn't call her mom. And you remember that?
You're absolutely right. Yeah, that was Dodge. Yeah.
When Dodge was on the run, she called Picard first, not her mom. Then when she spoke to her mom knew that she talked to Picard, and I was like, something's weird with the mom situation. And I think that is another aspect of the story that is going to reveal itself going forward. Who the mom is, or what the mom is, and what the function and purpose that they play.
So what you're trying to say is that she's going to say, not the mama. Am I right?
Not the mama. Yeah.
Sorry about that, everybody.
Not the mama. No.
It's been a long day.
Just got longer.
Well, that's cool. I'm sure there's a lot more stuff, but we're out of time.
What was the third point you covered?
I think that was all of them. Yeah, I think that was all of them. Narek sounds like my French relatives. We found out Dr. Girardi's college nickname. At least that's what I think it is, or was. The quote of the night comes from a Facebook comment. Oh, there was another quote that was really good. I don't know if I remember it. There are a lot of good quotes in there. A lot of good things.
Yeah, and you know what? Just a nitpick here, and I haven't really given this one a hard nitpick because I did like the episode, but Rafi asked the question, "What does the Tal Shiar need from a synth?" Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, wouldn't that be a question you would have asked like from the beginning, really?
Right.
When they were hunting down her sister, what would they need from her? I felt like that would. Yeah, so that question should have been asked.
Well, that's kind of what I guess that was. Picard was kind of asking it or trying to figure it out, but you're right. Rafi, that's kind of the first time she brings up. And the reason she asked that, or it's written that way, is for our benefit, for us to think that, because in this episode it is revealed that what they want with her is to find out where the homeworld is. And the final quote that I wanted to bring up, because I thought it was really good as well, was when towards the beginning, I know we're going back and forth, they bring up the Borg, and Agnes shows off her Borg knowledge and says the Borg are required reading in my line of work. Picard gets triggered. He starts going like, "Oh, they're not people, they're monsters," or whatever. And he says, "They don't change, they metastasize." That's very good. It shows exactly how he feels about them,
Yeah, absolutely. And you could feel the terror inside of his performance when he was facing the prospects of having to go back there. Really well done on Jean-Luc Picard, Mr. Patrick Stewart's part as well. He's doing a great job of carrying this show. I don't think we give him enough credit, but I think he is doing a great job.
I completely agree. And you're right. We don't give him enough credit because we kind of just expect him to be amazing like he always is. But
and we also focus on the other characters and the other storylines, but we kind of take him for granted. But he is kind of the glue that holds all of this stuff together.
He's magical.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we want to thank you all for joining us. Drop your comments below. Please subscribe. Listen to everything that we've ever done. Always. We've made like over 100 of these. And support us any way you can, any way you like. And we will see you again very soon on The Seventh Rule.